here we are. So I'm going to be taking a look back through the discography of one of, the greatest artists of this generation, Drake, all the way back to his very first mixtape called Room for Improvement. That's where we're going to start this series. I'm excited. Before the allure of pop music, before the 2C slide, before any kind of the big Drake hits that you'll know, Drake was a backpack rapper like anyone else, very influenced by the time, the come up of Kanye West, all that kind of stuff. I think he was still on Degrassi back when he released his first mixtape. He was still, a Canadian actor on TV, but trying to get into the music business, trying to be taken seriously. I think the tape was released in 2006, so 14 years ago now. Definitely makes me feel my age. I was 17 years old when I first heard this. I think like most people, I was introduced to Drake around the time of 2008 when Best I Ever Had was gaining some buzz. All we had back then was to be able to, when we first got into Drake, was to be able to dive back into Room for Improvement, Comeback Season, and the newly released So Far Gone. It was back in those LimeWire days where you'd have to individually download a track and then sort it out in your own music library. Simpler times, I guess. But yeah, I remember back then struggling to find where each song fit, and I remember for a while having songs from Comeback Season on Room for Improvement and vice versa. But back then obviously I listened to those mixtapes loads and loads when I was growing up and craving that new Drake music, so obviously diving back into his back catalogue. But I haven't listened to these mixtapes definitely in full for at least 5 or 6 years. They're obviously not on streaming platforms. They're clearly an artist trying to find their new sound and find their way in hip-hop really, and of course So Far Gone was the real birth of Drake as we know it, in terms of sound and style, but even then you can see the build of the building of that artist through Room for Improvement and through Comeback Season. So on this journey I'm going to go back through and start from the very beginning, and I hope you guys will join me with it, and it will bring some nostalgia, some memories, and maybe some people who haven't actually heard of these mixtapes. They're not on streaming, they're not particularly easy to find, unless of course of them already. So some people might not even have heard of them. So hopefully by watching this video you might go back and listen to them. If not, you'll be on the same nostalgia trip as me really. Let's take a look back at how Drake became Drake, and when he was first developing his sound. He must have been in late teens when he released this. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to hear it in full for the first time in a long time for me. With that being said, let's get into it. The first track originally it is called Intro. So yeah, let's get into it. I believe this is a DJ hosted mixtape, so there might be some classic tags on it. You never know. We'll see. Let's get into it.
Yo, what's going on? This is Drake, and I'm gonna let you know what you're about to witness, alright? This right here is a Drake and DJ Smalls collaboration. So I'm from Canada, my man's from down south. You understand, the #1 DJ in the south to be exact. You heard it at the VMAs. Edition, I call it the Room for Improvement mixtape, because I'm not perfect, and I bet neither of you if you listening, so you know what it is, man. So just tune in.
Well, that was a definite throwback. People don't really do that anymore on mixtapes or albums. Definitely, an artist searching for his shine. Southern Smokes, I think, was quite a big mixtape series. This is a good look for him. Obviously, using his TV connections to probably get in with this DJ Smalls. But yeah, you can definitely hear the hunger, the desire to be heard from a young Drake there. Yeah, let's get into the real first track. I think it's a skit called Pianist Hands. Let's hear it.
You look very nice today. Sorry, that's not professional, I guess. I always like to say there is room for improvement in his learning for piano. And he obviously has a reason. I don't think he was grounding any of it.
Drake early on, in putting a skit as the first track as his album, of course, very influenced by the time, with Kanye doing skits and loads of other artists like Wu-Tang, all that kind of stuff, who Drake obviously would have grown up listening to, in an effort to find his own sort of rhyme schemes, his own cadences, all that kind of stuff, like every hip-hop fan really, I guess. He's obviously started this mixtape off in a way that's probably different to some mixtapes in having a skit and taking it as an album. I believe the majority of it is all original music apart from a couple of tracks. You can see he's trying to at least be some kind of artist on this, not just an MC. The next track, or the first real track, is called Special, featuring Voyce, who is a Canadian R&B singer, who I do remember enjoying this track a lot back in the day. I believe it's obviously a little bit more R&B focused, but a lot smoother. Let's get into it.
By the title of Drake and treat me like the rest, that's a vital mistake. I'm hoping that ain't nobody else as special as you. Babe, never called, now they wanna be where I stays at. Now they got the new boy trying to move forward and pass me classy, something like Jude Lord. Talk to me. I need somebody special in you, girl. I know they out there somewhere new. Oh, I've been searching, hands up, ladies. Know what to do. Yeah, can you help me, baby?
See, this song brings back so many memories for me. It's funny though, listening to Drake himself, he sounds like a very different person in terms of the way he's flowing. Definitely influenced by people like Fonte, Little Brother, all those kind of classic, like Slum Village, all those kind of guys that he's referenced before as artists that he listened to growing up. You can hear it in his flow and in his cadence. He's pretty much imitating Fonte on this song. The attempts to try and find ad-libs as well are quite funny. But at the same time, there's a heart in this music, you can hear it now. But yeah, this song brings back memories. Obviously, for me, Drake's, I'm not ashamed to say, he's in my top 5. He should be in most people's top 5, I would say now, based on the last 10 years. But as I said, he's one of those artists that I watched develop over time, and I do believe him and Voyce actually had a falling out for a long time, but then around the time of Views, so 2016 I think, they were back together, and he does have some background vocals on Views, which is a nice little tie-in across Drake's career. But yeah, let's just carry on with this track. It's smooth, it's soulful, it's just, you know, again, a product of the time. And the beat sounds like a Neptune's classic. It actually could be a Neptune's classic that they're spitting on. I could be completely wrong. If not, it's a quite a good imitation of a Pharrell beat.
Working man, they won't sign, so drinking for your back. I take it, you know that. I'm looking for somebody special, man. I'm serious. No, I've been searching, I don't know what to do. Can you help me, baby? I'm tired looking smooth. I'm not perfect, but I got a desire to improve. I'm special. I don't know what to do. Can you help me, baby? Yeah, help me, baby.
So yeah, a very chilled, smooth track to kick off the project. It's quite funny, really. Obviously, he's not the first kind of rapper to rap about relationships, rap about girls, of course not. But it does really set the tone for his career, really. The very first song on his very first mixtape is rapping a story about a girl that, you know, was obviously special to him. Next track is called Do What You Do. I do vaguely remember not being a fan of this song, not too sure, but let's hear what it sounds like.
Getting down tonight if they say you're cutting. A lot of dudes in my city, they ain't saying nothing. A lot of records from here, they get no play. And these labels don't give advances, so you get no pay. Pull this one out for the people, you know what I'm saying? A lot of records from here. My record ain't even finished, they keep trying to press it. Boy Wonder and Drake, if it's beef, I address it.
I love that this is a Boy Wonder beat. We can actually, going through this series, we'll be able to see the growth of Boy Wonder as a producer as well as 40 and, you know, all the people who work regularly with Drake. I do believe that 40 isn't on this project, doesn't really start producing for Drake until Comeback Season or So Far Gone, when, you know, the Drake sound sort of comes in. But yeah, it's interesting to hear him shout out Boy Wonder this far back. It's nice, of course, as well that, you know, they're still tight. They're still Boy Wonder produces, if not half of Drake's music these days. So yeah, it's just nice. This beat is very over the top. It's Drake in his bragging bag, really. You know, he's a hungry new artist trying to prove that he can spit. Back then, he's more of a pure MC.
Made like she threw a print of the features. Y'all better get me while it's cheaper than dinner.
It's interesting as well, on these early tracks you can hear Drake's voice totally changes over time, really, in terms of, you know, he's trying to do a hook there. There's a bit of melody, a bit of cadence to it, but again, nothing like what we hear these days. This kind of like whisper voice that he does, I know over his career it gets a bit more nasal, a bit more, which around Thank Me Later era is a little bit annoying, but again, he gets a deeper voice as well, as you know, most men do. But yeah, it's interesting to see way back the evolution, really. The next two tracks feature a rapper called Nickelus F, who Drake worked with quite often back then. I do believe he's Canadian as well, I could be wrong on that. But yeah, the next track is called Money Remix. I believe it could be a Nickelus F track actually that he's remixed here. Again, could be totally wrong.
Southern smoke. This is the remix right here, man. Go for real. He but all my nigga, make sure you don't get shelled. Make sure your money's right and they do a promotion well so you can get checks cut like Benedict and Ocean 12. This ain't still have scummy, so guess it's kinda like a gift and a curse. Legit money is easier than lifting a purse. I'm trying to make it just to burn it. Milk the game, turn it to butter, look how I turn it.
It's interesting to hear Drake go back and forth with Nickelus F on this track. It's funny because you can hear the competitive spirit in Drake, the hunger as a young MC. At the time, he would have thought that, you know, Nickelus F was this big star on his tape, really, that's going to draw a lot of eyes and wants to prove that, you know, he's the next guy, he's the next one. Again, you can hear him rushing rhymes, trying to fit as many rhymes into a bar as possible. Again, it's like he's a clumsy MC at this point, eager to prove, eager to impress, and you can really hear it. The next track is called AM to PM, also features Nickelus F. I do remember back in the day enjoying AM to PM quite a bit, as well as the middle chunk of this mixtape, so I'm excited to revisit it, really.
On the shower, gather my belongings, at the works, I get some breakfast, cause still a nigga yawning from the night before. Analyze how many leave their wives will be beside. Either I need to make this music work or move from the earth, I'm pre-this stops.
This beat is absolutely amazing.
And all you gotta do is go to jail or get shot. Yeah, Nick copy, he ain't never get popped. Yeah, sure the drip drop.
Can't you picture just driving around, going down a sunny boulevard as the sun, you know, beats down on you. It's just great production.
Do it and realize it's easy as Southern smoke. From AM to PM, trying to get the cash. I stay up every evening, write that shit that they believe in. DJs running, they approach me and this praise I be receiving from the night before. At the club, fake ID, my record spin. Got me dancing right outside since these niggas won't let me in. We'll kiss again, slip around the back and get it cracking. All the bottles wrapped in cellophane and party where the press have been. This is the life that I lead from AM to PM.
Just a great chilled track. It's funny as well because you can look back on this time and see why so many people did actually grasp onto Drake. Even now, he's just so relatable in that he's talking about his family, he's talking about, you know, his life. He's trying to tell stories within these tracks even as early as now. The next track is called City Is Mine. I would guess it's about Toronto, which again, it's nice that he was putting on for his city, even though there's a lot of references to the South. Obviously he when he was younger, he split time between Memphis and Toronto, where his dad's family grew up. I believe obviously the South was doing fantastic stuff. Canada, obviously not big in rap at this time, so going to the South and drawing on those roots was probably the right move for him to get some shine. But at the same time, it's nice to see that, you know, he's going to put on for his city now. So let's go.
Boy Drake, frequently referred to as the new version of Fresh Prince, and right now you in the mix with the #1 DJ in the South, DJ Smalls, man. Never two-step, I just rock, lean, snap. We can take it out to Houston where the rides all glossed up. Anybody I'm standing besides all bossed up. Diamonds in my teeth flow. Memphis is the reason that my rhyming and my speech slow. Beat though, when I
This beat is so bad.
in the stereo, and I make them wanna shake it, drop it, bounce it, whop it, girl. Move that thing like you getting money for college. Go, shake it, drop it, bounce it, whop it, girl. Yo, the city is mine. Which one? T-O-R-O-N-T-O. Bounce it,
as much as it's nice that he's putting on for Toronto back then, this beat's so bad, this song is just not great. Again, we've got to give him benefit of the doubt, he's just starting out really. The next track is a skit called Drake's Voice.
The man Volleyball for Barbershop and Series. The man Drake. Yo, nigga, what's up? This is Glenn Lewis, man. Had to holler at my boy Drake, the incomparable, illustrious, lyrical genius.
It's hilarious that he's put these voices on here, these like really low level celebrities that are giving him a cosign. Again, it just points to how far he's come. The next track is called Bad Meaning Good, featuring Slakah the Beatchild, again an artist who Drake worked with a lot back in the day. Again, I think another Canadian artist. I do remember that the next few tracks, Bad Meaning Good, Thrill Is Gone, and Make Things Right, were some of my favourite songs on this record, so I'm really excited to go back to them and, you know, relive the nostalgia.
Lady, you see us in the house till 4. We don't even go out no more. It's always the same, man. Always complaining. All these baby.
They'll pick you up if your dad seen the hood. Not bad meaning bad, but bad meaning good, good, good.
Lady, somebody shut up the place right by.
My friends ain't even sitting in class when they should. He can go pick you up if your dad seen the hood. Not bad meaning bad, but bad meaning good, good, good.
Lately, I don't know about the friends that I hang with. I'm nervous around my boys, it depends on their anguish. Damn, Kawinky Dink, not likely, not a chance. How can we be so aware these problems are not advanced? We start, put a bit in, it's hard just to fit in. A lot of people only play their...
I'm laughing because Drake just said Kawinky Dink.
Guess I'm glad kid good, not bad meaning bad, but bad meaning good, good, good.
These are probably the best type of tracks that he did back then. These smooth, soulful cuts where, you know, it's just laid back, it's just chill. Obviously, again, influenced so much by the likes of Little Brother, the likes of Slum Village, like Jay Dilla, all those kind of guys. And, you know, it's that classic backpack rap. It's, again, a time where Drake was not really that confident enough to lean into his R&B side. It's a different time in rap, so probably wouldn't have been accepted back then. Also got him saying things like Kawinky Dink, which, you know, leans into that whole, this is pretty much peak Kanye West era. So there's these corny bars, these funny, cheesy lines that, you know, are all part and parcel of who's coming up in rap at the moment, really. So you can hear that very much in Bad Meaning Good. The next track is called Thrill Is Gone.
That's why I envy Omar, because so far I'm nowhere close to Malik and Deja. Some dudes, they turn purple with hurt faces, circling workplaces and find feelings tall, cause nowadays most of the thrill of just chilling is gone. And,
Just a great song. Again, you know, in a similar vibe to the last track. Just smooth, soulful, chilled. Drake telling us a nice story. Again, you know, the rhymes do kind of wash over you. He has much less presence on the track than now. I'd say he probably has the biggest presence in rap at the moment, alongside Travis Scott, on the track in terms of mic presence. You can just hear a hunger really in his voice and in his rhyme. As I say, he crams a lot of rhymes in. Not too sure who the background vocals are on this, but it's probably Voyce or Slakah the Beatchild. Funny that, you know, in days gone by, Drake would have done those background vocals himself. But anyway, the next track is called Make Things Right.
I'm from the city where people be getting lazy, littering in the streets, in the club district is popping like literally every weekend. From rollers and push flyers, money exchange hand athletes and start rolling together like Snoopy and Woodstock. Daffy and Bones, just all laughing at hugs until the dude catch a plane and she better give two dance like a couple of beavers. But the image the album playing Seamandale. Whenever I'm out in Memphis, the man.
And a prime example of that corny, cheesy, early Kanye West style rap. I couldn't give two damns like a couple of beavers is just, you know, peak of this early 2000s rap.
Like you dancing in heels and all, you a girl with the aspirations.
As I said before, this middle portion of the mixtape is the one that I used to go back to so much. I grew up loving Common, Kanye West, Little Brother, all that kind of soulful hip hop. And obviously Drake clearly idolised it in this early music. And yeah, if you're a fan of that kind of music, you'll like this kind of Drake as well. The next track is called Video Girl.
She right there and she's simply a new model. Stay spending dollars when she got less sense than an empty perfume bottle. And you betray your wealth, got a feeling you should stay on.
Sorry, I'm not reacting much to the last few tracks. I'm just lost in the nostalgia, really, you know, making me think back to when I was a youngin'. Could I sound any more old? Anyway, next track is called Drake's Voice. The last track, Video Girl, it's okay, not one of my favourites on the project. Let's hear the skit, and then it goes into a track called Come Winter, which I'm sure most Drake fans probably remember.
Yeah, it's dedicated to Canada, man. The whole up north. A lot of people don't realize how cold it gets during the winter.
If anyone ever says to you that they don't think Drake's a good rapper or he can't rap, please just, I know obviously this is a very long time ago, but please just show them this song. This is a Drake classic, early doors. The beats are amazing. You know, you can feel it's almost an early version of, you know, his work that he does even now. Those sort of cold storytelling tracks that, you know, just bring to mind, you know, the snow and the dark streets of Canada, really, or the darker streets of Toronto. And when I say dark, I don't mean, you know, street gang stuff. I just mean literal, like, driving at night time kind of music. And this is a prime example of it, you know, that he makes music that's tailored for that sort of wintry introspection.
The winter cars come out, the summer cars go in. And some of you planning family vacations, you better know when. But some of us scared to send their daughters out the city. Instead, she get a sweater that she bought out of it. Just wait. You know what I mean? Take it slow. Forgot to mention, this girl that never gets to the beach. She lives just west of my street, so we destined to meet. Then she say, I heard your song and I'm obsessed with the beat. I mean the lyrics are cool, but I'm obsessed with the beat. I love it when Voyce sings and the chorus is good. There's a couple things in the song that I suggest you repeat. She wanted was that indoor loving and home. Yeah. I told y'all I had a story for you, right?
Again, you know, it's when I said that this is an example of the Drake that he would become. Obviously, you know, he sounds different, but lyrically, you know, he's telling a relatable story about fleeting relationships, telling it in quite a straightforward way, but at the same time, it makes it easy to relate to for everybody else. I remember being young, relating to this story, and he just builds upon this as his career goes on and gets more skilled at it, even being able to do that now in the relatable sort of Instagram captions that he just spouts all the time now.
It's a shame, she had me convinced that she could have been a dime. I guess I lost another one to the winter time.
The beat switch is just bliss.
Give me a second to gather my thoughts.
Strolling in the park and watching winter
Such a
turn to
beautiful day,
spring.
man. Yeah, man. Oh.
Yeah, man.
You know we had to switch it on the rain.
Strolling in the
I'm still
park
standing on 2 feet.
and watching winter
Even after
turn
this
to
tragic loss,
spring.
The old Drake ad-lib.
I
Yeah,
got
man.
something else to tell you, baby. I remember them on-call PMs, breakfast and a wake-up. Now Drake's committed, we waiting on the breakup. So I get some ass inside, whenever talking, yeah, it's scary and true. That song special I recorded with Voice, well, it's like a classified. Listen, you get mad at the thought of it giving ass to others, yet you find pride. There's also room for improvement as soon as June arrives.
Strolling in the park and watching winter turn to spring.
Great sample.
And watching winter turn to spring.
Just a great song. Come Winter is, whenever you want to go back and listen to young Drake, that's probably, maybe, up there with the pinnacle of young Drake for sure. Next track is called Extra Special. Let's hear it.
Southern smoke, yeah, oh, straight, do that dance, I'm special, girl, don't leave me, baby, to find another just like you won't be easy, baby, so, this I know what I want to Baby, just promise me if you go that you'll come back. Like brothers having a tape in their car. Instead, these girls taking it raw. Now they tell you to do whatever you want cause it's safe to explore. Yeah.
Extra Special is okay. He is trying a bit hard on this track. It feels like he's trying to get a hit somewhere. Not one that I do really enjoy coming back to. The next track is called About the Game Remix, featuring Trey Songz. I don't believe Trey was like that big at this time, but he was obviously bigger than Drake was. I know him and Trey have long been friends, since obviously this time and before that. And we'll hear more of Trey Songz' early appearances on Drake's music as we continue to go through his catalogue in this new series. Yeah, let's listen to About the Game.
Yeah. It's Trey Songz. And D-R-A-K-K. Days you was lying around, I made money and that's why these girls eyeing me down. The coupe of my travels, days about the game. I know. Lay back in the seat when I creep, that's just how I roll. Cause it ain't all about.
It's funny as well, you know, you look back on this song, you look back on all of their early collaborations and you listen to Drake and you just would never have thought that this guy would dominate rap for 10 years, be the biggest rapper in the game for 10 years, and would outstrip the likes of Trey Songz. Even now, Trey Songz sounds like a star on this music. Yeah, you know, this music's tailored to, you know, his era. 2000s R&B was, you know, popular back then, but it's just so interesting to hear like where their careers went from here. The next track is called All This Love, again featuring the R&B singer Voyce. Yeah, this seems to be the R&B portion of the album. Yeah, it's funny as well. You hear obviously Drake's still at this point in his career afraid to try and sing himself, but he obviously cares about, you know, melody, cares about hooks, cares about choruses, and gets these guys on there to sing them because he believes they sing better than he does. Not sure whether he wrote some of these hooks. I'm sure he probably did. He's loved melody all the way back to the beginning, so yeah, let's hear All This Love. On this track, I've heard Drake around this era in lots of like leaked songs and, you know, Lucy's and all that kind of stuff. Drake used this verse a fair bit, and it's also, you know, around the time, just before the time really, where punchline rap was about to get like super popular, in part due to, you know, Lil Wayne, Drake, Young Money, Nicki Minaj. But yeah, you heard him say there, the way that I jack son, you'd think I was the new Sam L, which are just proper punchline rap bars, again, which would become so popular in the next couple of years and lead to Drake's rise, really. I do remember when I looked at this track list actually that All This Love is probably one of the only songs I couldn't really remember, and the reason I don't remember it is because I didn't really like it back then, don't really like it now. The next track is another of the Drake's Voice skits. It is the last one, which then leads into Scorpio's Mind featuring Nickelus F.
Hey, look, Drake, you never answered your damn father. There ain't no room for improvement, so we better be taking over this year, right? Into the Lord had, what we talking to time back to that, but you're checking out your boy Kiaga. I'm just calling.
What all of these skits really show is that, as I said, a guy desperate for the approval of the rap game, to be let in, to be given the keys. He's got Canadian rap legend, Socrates on there, as well as a few others. It's the last skit. The next track, as I said before, is A Scorpio's Mind featuring Nickelus F.
Hip-hop, Southern smoke. Alright, let me take my jacket off. Especially when one of your artists feeling threatened, cause I'm hardest in a weapon. Would you pardon my reflection? Mirror, mirror, tell me why they wanna get in scrimmage and play around to perfection. I'm the spitting image. My verbal canvas vivid. I told you I'm spitting image. It seems they want from one to start but never get to finish. My verbal campus is filling over. The nose of you feeling over. Writing college rhymes, but the thrill is over.
Another example of Drake just being a fantastic lyricist, even at an early age, but more so, you know, in the pure rap vein. He's got the metaphor, he's got the similes coming in there. Yeah, just a good example, as I said before, with when he's on a track with Nickelus F, he definitely gets into that competitive rap spirit, which again you see carry on, and it's quite ironic that, you know, it goes from Nickelus F to competing with people like Jay-Z on tracks with pure spitting, you know. The next track is called Stress. Stress is an early example of Drake trying to be hard, pretty much. It is cool, it's an alright song. The hook's pretty good, I think, from Nickelus F. The hook's pretty good. The verses are quite forgettable as well, but anyway, I'm excited to move on to the next track. It's called Try Harder, and I do remember it being my favourite track on the project, along with Thriller's Gone. Let's just get into it.
Sometimes I feel like Lohan and Hillary Duff are the only ones with enough to fear what I'm about to say in this song. But they want you to be like somebody using logic and reason. It's a lose-lose, why even try? When your ideas so frequently get try hard, try hard, try epic, try hard, try epic, try hard, try epic, try hard, succumb to pressure, but you spitting is pressure. And most of these rappers running the game. There's just times that I would have done it the same.
This song just sounds like triumph, even with the like cheesy DJ scratches. That beat, that sample, just so infectious. You just feel like you just had a victory. And Drake just fits. Sometimes I wish I just would have chilled on the sneakers and watched the game from the bleachers, cause I'm really telling me, but I spent in a house that I promised to get. But watch me on TV, that's exactly why I often get burned. But I'ma try to try harder, cause try harder, cause try harder, cause try harder, cause try harder, It's nice to hear as well that he's rapping about his mum way back then, and about trying to give her a better life, which he obviously has done now, which is just, what a journey for the guy. The next track is a remix of a Lupe Fiasco classic song called Kick Push. I do believe that this had leaked a while before Lupe's album actually came out, and Drake just threw it on his mixtape. What a time, really, where you could just do that kind of thing without any worry of copyright or anything. Yeah, let's listen to Drake's verse.
So, check it out. First got it when he was 6, didn't know any tricks. Matter of fact, first time he got on it, slipped, landed on his hip and busted his lip. For a week he had to talk with a list like this. And push. And coast. What up, Lupe? Shout out, check. My style is very Tennessee, mixed with some Terry Kennedy. People barely remember me from back in the day. Showing up apprentice. Mama probably would have done anything to prevent this, cause every single time I break a board it gets expensive. I sold, my cousins have the dough like Ray Me Faso. I said, Auntie, this is a safe career. She said, push, kick, push, coast.
Drake's added a cool verse to that. It's funny as well that he shouts out Lupe at the start as though, you know, he's worked with Lupe at this point. He hadn't, and I don't think they'd ever worked together. But it's funny because you can just again see Drake trying to jump on the hype that Lupe was getting at that time as the next big thing, really. Drake's flowing on there, of course, and you know he's got some good bars in there as well. But yeah, again, it's interesting to see where the careers have gone from there, really. And we've come to the final track, which is just an outro called UPA. Let's hear it.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our annual recital here at the UPA, Urban Pianist Association. Here is the most talented student in my class, Aubrey.
So that was Room for Improvement, Drake's debut project, debut mixtape, all the way back from 2006. There's nothing too special about Room for Improvement. There's probably a couple of tracks that stand out as something that are memorable. The whole tape is obviously viewed differently in hindsight, seeing as who this artist became, but you could never really have told or been able to tell the level that this guy would ascend to. But yeah, thanks for joining me. That was a brilliant little sort of nostalgia trip. I loved hearing some of my old favourites that I used to listen to back when I was like 17, 18. Yeah, really enjoyed that. I'm going to try and continue this series. Obviously the next one will be comeback season. I'll definitely be posting that at some point next week as we continue to see Drake evolve and Drake grow as an artist. It seemed like a great time to do it as well, just because with Tusi Slide coming out, it does feel as though Drake is building up to an album release. So hopefully we can get in all these sort of flashbacks, these throwbacks, these revisits before the new album's released. With that being said, please do like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what was your favourite track from Room for Improvement. Had you heard it before? What were your favourite tracks when you were younger, when you first heard this? Has your opinion of it changed over time? And what's your favourite Drake project? I obviously have my own, but I'll reveal that as and when we get to them. As I said before, like, share and subscribe, and also follow me on all the social media links below. And also head to my blog as well, where I write written reviews of lots of different albums from lots of different genres. I've been writing about music for a good 10 years now, so there'll be a lot of Drake albums in there as well. So yeah, apart from that, I hope everyone was staying safe, staying indoors, and not going too crazy. See you next time.